Okay, so everyone thinks they know my story. But they don't. I am Vivian. I am 29 years old. And yes, I had an affair. But before you start judging me like everyone else did, maybe you should hear what actually happened, instead of just believing whatever sob story my ex-husband Thomas told everyone. Thomas and I were married for 6 years. And let me be clear about something. Those couples you see on social media, the ones who post cute anniversary photos every year, total lies. Real marriage is living with someone who thinks silence is a virtue. Someone who genuinely believes that reading a book in the same room counts as intimacy. Thomas is 34. He works as a forensic accountant. He spends his days looking for missing numbers, for hidden assets, for lies in spreadsheets. He has the personality of a well-organized filing cabinet. I work as an art gallery curator. My life is about color, about emotion, about expression. Thomas is beige. Thomas is safe. The thing about Thomas is that he is what people call a good guy, which is code for boring but harmless. He pays the mortgage on time. He remembers to take the car for service. He has never raised his voice at me. Not once. Congratulations, Thomas. You have met the absolute bare minimum requirements for being a decent human being. But here is what nobody talks about when they are busy praising good guys. Good doesn't make your heart race. Good doesn't make you feel alive. Good doesn't make you feel desired. It just makes you feel managed. Thomas could predict every conversation we would have, every restaurant choice, every weekend plan. Dating him was like being trapped in the most pleasant, suffocating routine imaginable. I tried to connect with him for years. I would suggest wild trips. I would try to pick fights just to see if he had a pulse. His response was always the same. A calm look over the top of his glasses, a gentle sigh, and a logical explanation of why we shouldn't argue. It is like he was allergic to passion. The worst part was how satisfied he seemed. He acted like we had this perfect little life together. He would tell his friends how lucky he was to have such a calm life. Like the fact that I had stopped screaming on the inside was some kind of achievement. Meanwhile, I felt invisible in my own marriage. I was drowning in peace. And then I met Sebastian. Sebastian was everything Thomas was not. He was 27. He was a performance artist. He was chaotic. He was loud. He was a mess. We met at an exhibit opening. Thomas was standing in the corner, holding a glass of sparkling water, looking at his watch. Sebastian walked up to me. He didn't ask about the art. He didn't ask about the weather. He looked right at me, into me, and he said, "You look like you are screaming behind your eyes." It was the first time in 6 years I felt seen. Really seen. Not as a wife, not as a curator, but as a woman who was starving. We started talking. And for the first time in a long time, the conversation wasn't about tax returns or grocery lists. It was about dreams. About fears. About how much we hated the silence. Thomas drove us home that night. He asked if I had a good time. I said yes. He didn't ask who I talked to. He didn't ask why my cheeks were flushed. He just nodded and turned on the radio to the classical station. At a reasonable volume, and I sat there, looking out the window, hating him for his calmness, hating him for trusting me. Because I knew, right then, that I was going to destroy him. It started with messages. Small things. Sebastian would send me photos of things that reminded him of me. A broken window, a storm cloud, a red flower growing in concrete. Thomas would send me texts too. "Please pick up milk. The plumber is coming at 4. Did you pay the electric bill?" The contrast was hilarious. And tragic. I started meeting Sebastian for lunch, then for drinks, then for dinners that I told Thomas were client meetings. Thomas never questioned me. Why would he? He trusted his schedule. He trusted his routine. He thought he had me figured out. But he didn't know me at all. With Sebastian, I was someone else. I was dangerous. I was exciting. We would sit in dark bars and talk for hours. Sebastian listened to me. He didn't try to fix my problems. He didn't offer logical solutions. He just let me feel things. He told me I was a muse. He told me I was wasted on a man like Thomas. He said, "He wants to keep you in a box, Vivian. I want to break the box." And oh, how I wanted to be broken. The physical part happened 2 months in. It wasn't slow. It wasn't gentle. It was frantic. It was messy. It was everything Thomas wasn't. Thomas made love like he was following a manual. Step 1. Step 2. Conclusion. Sebastian was a storm, and I was the lightning rod. I started coming home later and later. I wanted Thomas to notice. I wanted him to get angry. I wanted him to grab me and ask where I had been. I wanted him to smell another man on me and lose his mind. But he never did. I would walk in at midnight. Thomas would be on the sofa, reading a book, or working on his laptop. He would look up, smile that gentle, infuriating smile, and say, "Long day? There is food in the fridge if you are hungry." It drove me insane. One night, I pushed it. I came home at 2 in the morning. I had Sebastian's scent all over me. My hair was a mess. My lipstick was smudged. I walked into the living room. Thomas was asleep in his chair. I woke him up. I was aggressive. I slammed my purse on the table. "I'm home," I said loudly. He blinked. He adjusted his glasses. He looked at the clock. "It is late," he said softly. "I was out," I challenged him. "With a friend." He looked at me, really looked at me. For a second, I thought I saw something in his eyes. A flicker, but then it was gone, replaced by that wall of calm. "Okay," he said. "You must be tired. Let's go to bed." He stood up. He turned off the lights. He walked past me. He didn't try to touch me. He didn't try to kiss me. He just went upstairs. I stood there in the dark, shaking with rage. How could he be so blind? How could he be so stupid? Or maybe he just didn't care. Maybe I was just a piece of furniture to him. Something that was supposed to be there. And as long as I came back eventually, it didn't matter where I had been. That night, I lay in bed next to him. He was breathing evenly, asleep within minutes. I texted Sebastian. He didn't even ask. Sebastian replied instantly, "Because he doesn't deserve you." I smiled in the dark. Thomas thought his silence was a gift. He thought he was being a supportive husband, giving me space. But his silence wasn't a gift. It was an insult, and I was going to make him pay for it. I thought I was being clever. I thought I was the one in control. I was the main character in a dramatic movie. And Thomas was just an extra. But I forgot what Thomas did for a living. He finds things. He finds the truth hidden in the numbers. He notices patterns. It happened on a Tuesday. I came home from work. Usually, Thomas would have dinner ready. Usually, he would greet me at the door with a kiss on the cheek. Usually, the house would smell like food and safety. But that Tuesday, the house was cold. The kitchen was dark. There was no smell of food. Thomas was sitting at the dining table. No book. No laptop. Just sitting there. In the dark. "Thomas?" I called out. He didn't answer immediately. He just turned his head slowly. "Hello, Vivian," he said. His voice was different. It wasn't the warm, beige voice I was used to. It was flat, metallic. "Is everything okay?" I asked. "Did someone die?" "No," he said. "No one died." I turned on the light. He winced slightly at the brightness. Then I saw it, on the table in front of him. It wasn't a receipt. It wasn't a text message. It was his laundry pile. Specifically, his gray jacket, the one I had borrowed last week when it was raining. The one I had worn when I met Sebastian at that hotel bar. He didn't say anything. He just looked at the jacket. And then he looked at me. He didn't scream. He didn't throw a plate. He didn't demand an explanation. He just stood up. "I am going to sleep in the guest room," he said. "Thomas." "Wait." I started. "Let me explain." He held up a hand. "No," he said. Just one word. "No." And then he walked away. That began the real silence. Before, I thought his quietness was punishment. I was wrong. This was punishment. For the next 2 weeks, Thomas became a ghost. He stopped buying my favorite coffee creamer. He stopped doing my laundry. He stopped asking if I needed the car. He stopped looking at me. It was like I didn't exist. I would walk into a room, and he would walk out. I would speak, and he wouldn't respond. Not even a nod. It was terrifying, and it made me angry. Why wouldn't he fight? Why wouldn't he act like a man? I tried to provoke him. I left my phone unlocked on the table. I talked about Sebastian on the phone loudly in the next room. I wanted him to explode. Because an explosion is a connection. Even anger is a connection. But he gave me nothing. Absolute zero. I complained to Sebastian. "He is manipulating me," I said. "He is trying to make me feel crazy." Sebastian laughed. He is weak, Sebastian said. He is scared to face the truth. It feels like he is watching me, I said. Like he is waiting for something. Let him wait, Sebastian said. We have each other. But Sebastian's words felt thin. They didn't fill the silence in my house. The house felt heavy. Every creak of the floorboards sounded like an accusation. I realized I missed the beige. I missed the safety. I missed the way Thomas used to look at me, even if it was predictable. Now, when he looked at me, which was rare, his eyes were dead. It was like looking into a mirror and seeing no reflection. I couldn't take it anymore. The silence was louder than any screaming match. It was pressing down on my chest, suffocating me. I needed it to end. I needed him to break. So I decided to force his hand. I decided to tell him everything. Every dirty detail. I wanted to hurt him so bad that he would have to speak. I wanted to shatter his calm facade into a million pieces. I waited for a rainy night, because I wanted the drama. I wanted the atmosphere. I waited for him to come home. I sat in his chair. We need to talk, I practiced saying. I am leaving you, I practiced. But when the door opened, and Thomas walked in, shaking his umbrella, looking so composed, so put together, so utterly unaffected by my betrayal, I felt a spike of fear, because for the first time, I realized that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't the one in control anymore. Chapter 4. The Silent Collapse. The rain hammered against the windows. It was the perfect backdrop for my big scene. Thomas hung his coat up. He placed his umbrella in the stand. He aligned his shoes perfectly. He walked into the living room and saw me sitting in his chair. He stopped. He didn't look surprised. He looked prepared. Thomas, I said. My voice was shaking, but I told myself it was from passion, not fear. He looked at me. Vivian, he acknowledged. Aren't you going to say anything? I demanded. It has been 2 weeks, Thomas. You haven't said a word to me. He walked over to the bookshelf. He pulled out a thick manila envelope. He placed it on the coffee table. Gentle, precise. I have nothing to say, he said. But you might want to read this. What is this? I asked. Divorce papers? Among other things, he said. I grabbed the envelope. I tore it open. I wanted to see his pain. I wanted to see angry scribbles. But it wasn't a letter. It was a spreadsheet. Pages and pages of spreadsheets. My stomach dropped. Date, time, location, amount, every hotel, every dinner, every Uber ride to Sebastian's studio. He had highlighted them. In yellow, there were photos too. Grainy but clear enough. Me and Sebastian kissing in the park. Me entering Sebastian's apartment building. You followed me? I gasped. You stalker. I didn't have to, Thomas said. His voice was so calm, it was terrifying. You were careless. You used our joint credit card for the hotel room on the 16th. You used the toll pass to go to the city on days you said you were at the gallery. He sat down on the sofa opposite me. He crossed his legs. I am a forensic accountant, Vivian, he said. I trace patterns. And your pattern was obvious. So what? I stood up. I threw the papers on the floor. So I cheated. Are you happy now? Do you want to know why? No, he said. I did it because you are boring, I screamed. Because you are dead inside. Because I needed to feel something real. Sebastian makes me feel alive. He sees me. Thomas looked at the scattered papers. Then he looked back at me. He sees a paycheck, Thomas said. What? Look at the last page. I looked down. There was a credit report. Sebastian's credit report. He is $50,000 in debt, Thomas said. He has been evicted twice. And interestingly, since he started sleeping with you, you have withdrawn $4,000 in cash from our savings. I assumed to help him with his art? My face burned. You don't know him, I spat. He is an artist. Money doesn't matter to him. It matters to everyone, Thomas said. Especially when they don't have it. You are just jealous, I said. Because he has passion and you have spreadsheets. Thomas stood up. He smoothed his shirt. I have packed a bag, he said. I am staying at a hotel tonight. The lawyer will contact you in the morning. You are leaving? I laughed. A harsh, hysterical sound. Just like that? You aren't even going to fight for me? Thomas walked to the door. He put his hand on the knob. He paused. I only fight for things that have value, he said. The words hit me like a physical blow. I loved you, he said, without turning around. I loved you enough to give you a stable life. I loved you enough to trust you. But you didn't want a husband, Vivian. You wanted an audience. He opened the door. Enjoy the noise, he said. And then he closed the door. Click. That was it. No slamming. No screaming. Just a click. I stood alone in the living room, surrounded by the papers that proved my guilt. The rain beat against the glass. I waited for the relief. I waited for the rush of freedom. But all I felt was cold. I called Sebastian. He knows, I said. He left. Great, Sebastian said. Now you are free. He knows about the money, I said. He knows about your debt. There was a pause on the line. A long, uncomfortable silence. That guy is a creep, Sebastian said. Checking up on people like that. Can I come over? I asked. I don't want to be alone here. Tonight is not good, Sebastian said. I have a project. I need to focus. But I just left my husband for you, I said. Hey, don't put that on me, Sebastian said. We are just having fun, right? Don't make it heavy. He hung up. I looked at the phone. I looked at the empty chair where Thomas used to sit. The silence rushed back in. But this time, it wasn't peaceful. It was heavy. It was judging me. And for the first time, I was scared. Chapter 5. The Echo of Public Opinion. I tried to get ahead of it. I really did. The next morning, I posted on social media. A vague black and white photo of a storm. Sometimes you have to break to become whole, I wrote. Growth is painful. Moving on. I wanted people to think it was mutual. That we had just grown apart. That I was the brave woman leaving a stifling marriage to find herself. I wanted sympathy. But Thomas, boring, predictable Thomas, he had a nuclear option I didn't see coming. He didn't post on Facebook. He didn't make a TikTok crying video. He sent an email, a single email, to our families, to our mutual friends, to my boss at the gallery. The subject line was, personal update. The body of the email was short. I am writing to inform you that Vivian and I are divorcing due to her infidelity. I would appreciate privacy during this time. Attached was a single PDF. It wasn't the spreadsheet. That would have been too petty for Thomas. It was a timeline. Just dates. October 4th. Vivian cancels dinner with my parents. Reason, sick. October 4th. Credit card charge. The Plaza Hotel bar, 2 drinks. November 12th. Vivian misses my birthday dinner. Reason, late work meeting. November 12th. Uber ride to Sebastian's address. December 24th. Vivian leaves Christmas Eve early. Reason, migraine. December 24th. Text log showing 45 messages to, from unknown number. It was devastating in its simplicity. He didn't call me names. He didn't use emotional language. He just presented facts. And the facts made me look like a monster. Specifically, the dates involving family. His mother loved me. She called me immediately. Vivian, she said. Her voice wasn't angry. It was disappointed. Which is worse? Is this true? You missed his birthday to be with another man? It is complicated, I tried to say. Thomas was distant. I was lonely. He was working overtime to pay for your studio renovation, she said. He told me he wanted to surprise you. The line went dead. Then the messages started coming. Friends I had known for years. Wow, I can't believe you did that. Please don't come to the barbecue on Saturday. It would be awkward. My boss called me into her office. Vivian, she said. We curate art here. We value reputation. This drama is becoming a distraction. It is my personal life, I argued. Thomas is the auditor for 3 of our biggest donors, she said. They adore him. They don't adore this. She put me on unpaid leave. Until the dust settles, she said. I went to Sebastian's studio. I needed him. I needed his chaos to drown out the judgment. I found him painting. He looked annoyed to see me. Everyone knows, I said. Thomas told everyone. Yeah, I heard, Sebastian said. My landlord called me. Apparently Thomas knows him too. Small world. I lost my job, I said. Or at least, I think I did. Sebastian put down his brush. He wiped his hands on a rag. Listen, Vivian, he said. This is getting too intense. I am an artist. I need freedom. I can't deal with divorce lawyers and angry ex-husbands and debt collectors. You said you wanted to break the box, I said. The box is broken, Sebastian. We are free. You are messy, he said. I like messy in art. Not in my life. But I did this for us, I pleaded. I left him for you. I never asked you to leave him, Sebastian said. I just wanted to have a good time. You took it too seriously. He looked at me with cold eyes. You should go, he said. I have a model coming in an hour. I stood there, stunned. Thomas had left me because I had no values. Sebastian was leaving me because I had no assets. I walked out of the studio, into the bright, harsh sunlight. I checked my phone. 0 messages. No one cared where I was. No one was waiting for me. The silence wasn't in my house anymore. It was everywhere. It was in the street. It was in my phone. It was in my head. I had wanted to be the main character. Well, I was. I was the villain. And everyone loves to watch the villain fall. Chapter 6. The Symphony of Solitude. It has been 1 year. I live in a small apartment now. It is loud. The walls are thin. I can hear my neighbor watching TV. I can hear the traffic outside. I can hear the sirens. It is the noise I thought I wanted. But it is just noise. It isn't passion. It is just disturbance. I work at a small boutique now, selling overpriced scarves to tourists. The gallery fired me officially a month after the separation. Restructuring, they called it. We all knew the truth. I tried to date. But this city is small, and men talk. Aren't you Thomas's ex? They ask. The one with the timeline? That is what I am now. The girl with the timeline. A cautionary tale. A red flag with legs. Thomas kept the house. He bought me out. Fair market value. He was precise to the end. I saw him yesterday. It was purely by accident. I was walking past a coffee shop, the kind that serves simple, good coffee. He was sitting by the window. He wasn't reading a book. He wasn't looking at a spreadsheet. He was talking, and he was smiling. Not the polite, beige smile I knew, but a real smile, one that reached his eyes. Across from him sat a woman. She looked normal. She was wearing a simple sweater. Her hair was in a ponytail. She wasn't glamorous. She wasn't artistic. She looked like she enjoyed silence. She looked like she appreciated safety. Thomas reached across the table. He took her hand. He held it gently, like it was something precious, like it was something of value. I stood there on the sidewalk. Watching them, I wanted to be angry. I wanted to hate her. I wanted to hate him for being happy so quickly. But I couldn't, because I realized something terrible. Thomas wasn't boring. He was just boring with me. He had saved all that warmth, all that hidden depth, for someone who would actually notice it. I had treated his peace like a prison, and now, I was the one locked out. I watched them for a minute longer. Then the woman said something, and Thomas laughed. It was a loud, joyful sound, a sound I had never heard him make in 6 years. It echoed through the glass. It hit me harder than the silence ever did. I turned away. I walked back to my loud, small apartment. I sat on my cheap sofa. I turned off the TV. I turned off the music. I sat in the dark, and I listened to the silence. It wasn't a punishment from Thomas anymore. It was a consequence. My consequence. I wanted a dramatic life. I wanted a story that people would talk about. And I got it. I am the star of the show. But nobody is clapping. And the curtain has fallen. And I am the only one left on the stage. In the dark, alone.